Live from BackChat Studios, we are back in business. I tell you what, for all those naysayers that say footy's dead and the AFL's killing it and the hierarchy's got it in the bin, we come off the back of one of the great weekends of footy, Skeeter, and it's good to be here. ShelterFootyCast.com.au. Find all of the best stuff there. Get in contact with us, Shelter FootyCast on socials, or send us an email, footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. Skeeter, how was your weekend?
Very good, thank you. I did some numbers actually last night, which has been picked up around the place.
Sorry?
I did some numbers. I was actually thinking, how close was this round? And I did my numbers, and I've worked out that 8 of the 9 games, I didn't go and use anyone else for the first time ever. I did. I sat down, because I did watch a bit of footy for the first time yesterday. I got home from doing the Richmond West Coast game, and then I watched a bit of the Geelong game, and I watched the end of the North Melbourne game. But I think it's 58 points for 8 games, the cumulative margins, and then of course the Hawthorn game was a 35-point result. But that's, I think, the closest round in about 55 years. I did pinch that figure, but I knew it was tight.
So what do you claim? What have you?
No, I did yesterday. Before all this information came about how tight, I thought this is bloody close.
Did you put this into?
Well, I just added them up. I went and did my calculator. And
did you put it into the ethos? Into the
no, universe? I didn't put it because it's not on X or on Instagram. Doesn't mean that I haven't done it. Jeez, because you didn't
right.
get. Yeah, I mean,
you're dead right.
I did have a look. I thought, this is a close round. So I did do some homework.
But I thought you were like telling me like that you've broken something.
No, I didn't. Before all this noise about how close the round was, and then I get on Facebook. I've just lost it because I'm not great on Facebook. I've seen that this Thursday, there's a show with Liam Baker, Jeremy McGovern, and you. It says at the Campfield. You're not hosting a show this week at the Campfield.
I think that sounds about right.
And it says, have a look if you can find it.
Make sure you get down there.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever. But it was more the line about McGovern, Baker, and the world's best premiership MC.
Is that what it said?
It said that. I've got to find this. I lost it because I went searching for other stuff.
Can you name a better one?
That's probably not a bad shout. Well, there's probably a few out there, but you'll take it.
Oh, well, who's a better premiership MC?
A premiership MC.
I'm not saying anything. I haven't seen what you're talking about, but
yeah, there'd be some good ones out there.
Okay, good. Thank you, Skate. See if you can find that in the next side.
Well, I can't. It's on the Campfield on Facebook. I can't find it now because it disappears.
All right, very good, Skater.
I'll keep looking.
Hey, make sure you're getting stocked up for winter. It is coming, apparently. It's beautiful weather all week this week, but you can get 10% off beers right now, shelterbrewing.com.au. Go and check that out, Skate. Welcome to the Shelter Footycast, with WA's best footy show and WA's best beer combined to bring you all the biggest footy from, as I said, one of the best weekends of footy we've seen in a long time. Combined margin of the 9 games was 93, an average of 10.3.
58. Did you
get to that?
I didn't get to that part. I was sitting around, it was Mother's Day, so I was spending a lot of my time concentrating on looking after my mum.
Sorry, happy Mother's Day to all the Mother's Day force. What did you do? What sort of show did you put on?
Well, what I do?
You went work 6 p.m.
I went work 6 p.m. And then I took my mum and my wife out to dinner in Subi last night.
Oh, well done. Where'd you go?
A place called Found.
Was it good?
It's
Found Brewery.
Yeah.
That was good.
Can I say that?
It's just a restaurant.
Yeah, it was fine. It was good.
Excellent.
And,
no shelter. no Busselton, unfortunately. But you're not going to drive to Busselton. You would if you could.
And then I went to this place it's a chocolate place in Leederville. What's it called?
And I will say, if you're going to go down to the Busselton, unfortunately, you may as well go and check out their chocolate place as well, because they've just started.
But there's this place. It was a very famous chocolate place. I forgot what its name. Anyway, I had this cold chocolate. It was like in a big glass, and Vic said, if you drink that, you'll be sick. And it was beautiful.
And what did you do?
I drank it. Oh, my guts felt but it was great. How good is it when you just be a pig for an hour?
You treat yourself on Mother's Day.
I looked after myself big time.
Very good, mate. Average of 10.3. 0.33, probably reoccurring, by the way, Skate. Lowest on record for a full fixture of 9 matches ever. And it is whatever stat you rolled out before. It's from the 1970s.
And this is since 2012. This is obviously since the 18 teams came in. But either way, it's bloody good to sit back and reflect. And again, yesterday, having called the Richmond West Coast game, watched. Now, I didn't see all the Geelong game because obviously it overlapped. But I'll tell you what, if that wasn't close to the game of the season or the round, it was bloody good.
I haven't seen a better game than that.
What, this year?
Yeah. No, not ever. I'm not giving you. All right, and now let's get into Scully's top 10 games ever. I can't even remember what happened this week, let alone ever. So, it was awesome, mate. And the reason it was awesome was It wasn't because, it was high scoring, which was great. But the reason it was high scoring was the skill level was so high. Like Jesse Hogan's goal kick, like his set shot from all around the ground, contested marks. But there was huge contests. Like that was a proper finals like footy. Like there was contested footy. There was fast moving, but there was high levels of skill. There was hard run. It had everything. It was
how do we keep this type of footy? I know it's a one-off, but it just seemed to happen in one weekend, which is pretty rare. If I see
anyone from the AFL rolling this out, right, when they've been, smashed, and if I see some sort of propaganda this week about how good the game's been, it's never been any better, right? Which, hey, it's getting the lowest on record for a full fixture of 9 matches ever. Maybe it's true. Maybe it might be true for the first time ever. Maybe it's never been better ever.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, and not just how close they were. The quality wasn't too bad. Even the game I did yesterday, which we'll talk about, it was still reasonable to call.
All right, Skate. I don't know what's happening, but I think we maybe are getting through to the AFL. I think maybe action over outcome is becoming a thing.
Oh, you're still on this horse. You're still riding it.
Oh,
you're
I'll be
riding it right.
So I'm like bucking bronco, mate. I'll just be riding it into the sunset.
What are we jumping on here?
Well, last week, see, this is the thing. I can't remember what happened. Like, what was last week? There was a big controversy and then no one got suspended. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever it was. Who cares? Zach Merritt this week has been cleared for his hit on Nick Blakey, which I love. It was not a bad action. It was a terrible outcome.
He's going for the footy,
We don't want Nick Blakey injured and hurt and unconscious, clearly. But he was going for the footy. So that's action-based. I reckon 4 weeks ago, that's getting 3 weeks.
Can I ask you this question? Do you think because of the player concerned that...
not.
No, I'm being sort of a bit facetious here, but Zach Merritt's going to be... at the moment, he's going to be a Brownlow medal contender, correct?
So you're saying that...
I'm saying... No, my point is, imagine if he was suspended for that action and wins the Brownlow. That's the sort of thing.
We're not talking Paddy Cripps. We're not talking Zach Merritt's getting looked after because he's a favourite in the Brownlow. No, you're not saying that, are you?
I'm just saying I'm just throwing it out there.
Don't reverse off that hill that you just put yourself
No, I just said that if it was another... So as a young player...
Yeah.
Do you think that the same... just sometimes. I just wonder sometimes.
First gamer for West Coast.
Who yesterday?
No, last week.
Last week.
Come on. He got suspended for a week.
Oh, yeah, Bo Allen.
So a very similar sort of...
Yeah, well, that's...
very, 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 very similar.
Well, that's sort of my point in the sense of... And I'm not saying Zach Merritt was lucky. I think it's great that he got off. But I just sometimes wonder whether... Yeah, I mean, Paddy Dangerfield's had a bit of a blessed run, I think, at times. Anyway.
I feel like I know what you're saying, but you're saying you're not saying that.
Well, it's almost like saying that the AFL is corrupt. But I'm not. I'm not saying that.
Clip it. Margaret, the AFL is corrupt. Clip it. No context.
You're not doing that.
Oh, you've said it.
Well, I'll tell you what.
AFL corrupt. There's a new rap coming out on TikTok.
The AFL is not corrupt. A very good organisation. Keep me employed through various media forms.
AFL doesn't employ you, mate.
Well, someone does.
It's okay to have your view, mate. It's okay. The other unusual one, though, is the Luke McDonald, Jarrod Berry one. Like, I don't know if you saw that yesterday in the North Melbourne Brisbane one. They basically, Luke McDonald instigated it because he, was the one running towards Jarrod Berry. But the way the play unfolded, they kind of got to about 10 centimetres from each other and both realised where they were and they clashed heads. It's going to be a weird one, that one, because I don't think the action was terrible, but they both go off the ground.
Yeah, and you're speaking of that, I'm waiting to see what Tyler Brockman receives for. And it's just hard to tell whether there's a jumper punch, etc. But the MRO will have their look at it. He was a bit of an angry ant yesterday at times.
Yeah, that 50, the reverse free kick off the 50.
That was probably there. Stupid from him.
Yeah. Look, I won't go into this one. Teenager allegedly caught trying to smuggle fake guns and knives. Like, not that this is the same as racism, but I would say, like, the thing that has in common with these people, they're dickheads. Like, I don't know if you can teach. Like, I don't know how you stop this smuggling fake guns and knives into stadiums or where people, like, what are we doing?
He didn't have a ticket. I was trying to draw an analogy with the kid that unfortunately has been banned for 2 years at the SCG for what he did. No. This guy gets just sort of told, again, he didn't, how do they prove that he was using it with ill intent? But yeah, it's a couple of times this year, bit weird.
Not sure you're sort of ever rolling around with fake guns.
But can I say this very briefly? And I'm not sure if you've been to an NFL game in the States. I'm sure you have, yeah.
Yep.
So we went last October. We went to Foxborough, and I can tell you, the guys, the security at the front had the AR-15s. I think the Yanks go well and truly over the top with all that, but I understand that rationale, and they are, security-wise, very, very conscious of anything like that. So I'm not sure whether the AFL needs to step up its game. Obviously, they've had one transgression with a couple of guys taking in the...
Yes.
So, yeah.
I don't know if it'd surprise you, and it's a story for another time, but I ended up in the... Is it the annals? Like, is underneath, like, what's like underneath in the depths, like some Colosseum sort of...
the dungeon.
Yeah, I ended up down there sort of where the lockup was one year with a few former teammates of mine. We weren't in the wrong, but we certainly were down there.
What did you try and take into the stadium, just quickly?
Oh, no, I didn't take it. No, it was probably halfway through the third. And funnily enough, it was a Minnesota-New York Jets game, but it was in New York. So I was in Minnesota gear and... Bit of confrontation in the stands, but I'll tell you.
I went and saw Aaron Rodgers play last October for the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium.
But you would have been cheering for him. I was cheering against them. It's not a good idea to do that at MetLife.
He didn't score a frigging touchdown for the whole day. It was great.
Because you were there. I'm sure you're invested. All right, there we go, Skeeter. Shelter Brewing Co., the beer that we can't get enough of. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shuttlefield. All right, Skeeter, let's get into the games. But now we're back to 9 games a weekend. Like, it almost feels like the Thursday game, and especially because it's Fremantle, feels like a long time ago on Monday because we're 3 days out from the next Thursday game. But Collingwood, 97, defeated Fremantle, 83 at Optus Stadium. An improved effort from Freo, but the only way was up, baby, from Freo's effort the weekend prior against St Kilda. Freo had 62 inside 50s to 34. If you were doing your numbers... Surely that's some sort of record, and to lose.
I was about to, that's
not those numbers, but to lose off those.
I asked that on radio. I said that's got to be that discrepancy, that contrast, 62 to 34, and you get beaten by double digits, double figures. That's got to be one that we want Sir Swamp or someone of that ilk to have a look at. Because
you're saying you're the numbers guy now.
No, I sort of did one set of numbers yesterday, Will, when I was just in a bit of a funk and wondering what to do for 10 minutes.
Trying to get that ice chocolate there.
It's a good chocolate. Look, Fremantle's effort was great. I won't say great. It was good, but the methodology and the way, the efficiency to win the game, Collingwood with 34 entries and kicked 15 goals, quite extraordinary, which is a blight on, I guess, the Dockers' defence, maybe how they set up defending the ground. But look, I tipped Collingwood on Thursday just on the belief that they play their style of footy irrespective of who is there, and that was a really big win. I know the Dockers were coming off a low base and whatnot, but I was so impressed with like Crisp and Bobby Hill and the guys that were able to just keep Collingwood playing that type of footy, which has them near the top of the table.
I mean, what I loved for the positives from Freo, I loved Corey Wagner tagging Nick Dacos, and it was a full ground sort of tag. So Brayshaw had him really early. Excuse me, was following him around really closely at stoppage. Then he went forward and Jordan Clark had him, and then most of the time Corey Wagner had him. I say this like they kept him to 18 disposals. Now he went forward and he went to the goal square and he was dangerous. But
was he injured?
He didn't have. No, I don't think he was, mate. Like as in,
injured.
It wasn't a hamstring.
But he's good enough to get to the fall of the ball when there's a mark to be had in forward 50.
In the last quarter, I was watching him. He was running around fine. So I think it was like a hip pointer or something like that. Like he would have been sore, but not like incapable. He didn't have 35. Like. That's the game you want out of Nick Dacos if you're playing against them. You want to hold him to 18. Now, they get beaten, I know, but like I don't know why sides don't do that.
Now, the Dockers have been looking for a player, I think, to fulfil that role.
There he is.
Have they found him now?
Yeah, there he is. And sides just should do this, honestly. Like that, they forced Collingwood to beat them with other people.
In a different way.
Yeah, they did that, and clearly you don't want that. But
hats off to Collingwood because I think as much as Justin Longmuir is still copying stick, I thought it was the effort was there, which you'd expect. I did hear, now this, I'm not sure if this is prior to the game, Sky, I did hear SEN was rolling out something through Champion Data suggesting that the ball movement of the Dockers is possibly the slowest ever recorded. Now, I don't know what metrics they used on that. I should have seen that.
Yeah, they've bought, so Hoyne at SEN.
Yeah, he's a gun.
Yeah, he's bought in, Champion Data have bought in a metric that measures speed of ball movement.
And the Dockers sit, from the piece I saw on social media, was they sit basement.
Before the game. Yeah, that's before the game because, I mean, they changed things, right? So they tagged with Wagner. Shea Bolton played inside. He had 28 disposals, 9 clearances. I mean, that's the Shea Bolton I expected. So that's coaching. Like, he hasn't just gone, I'm going to start trying now this week. Like, that's a completely different role for him. Why have they not been using that? Is it because... they had it in 62 times and they couldn't score, and they've been trying to score.
Was it necessitated because Hayden Young wasn't playing, although he's missed most of the year anyway, it turns out?
I would rather lose having 62 inside 50s to 34 than having 40 and losing in a boring way. Like, I would rather Freo play. They're going to win more games than they will lose.
Anytime you get over 60, I reckon the numbers would be 80% you win matches.
So they do a fair bit right. Did you hear Justin Longmuir after the game? I didn't hear any of the press conference.
We had it.
Did he give much or?
He was. I think the line which caught a bit of attention. I know Peter Bell spoke about it on radio. I think subsequently was how proud he was of the effort and what they gave, and I think that just was a bit prickly for some Dockers supporters, which I know Justin's defensive of his players, etc. But they were better. It had to be better. I promised you that last Thursday. I said I guarantee you they will be a different side to what we saw at Marvel Stadium, and they were. And they probably they win. Against Collingwood, they lose, but against most other sides, they probably win that match. But they still lack that connectivity between their mids and forwards, don't they?
Yes, they do. Mate, I know you got to get out of here, and I was late today, which I'm sure you're happy with.
No, I just roll with whatever Scully's schedule is.
Potential sponsors, Jetstar, may be coming on board, Skater. So,
well, that's
I can't refer
always been a big fan of Jetstar, you know that, even though I've been slightly miffed with the odd delay and maybe a cancelled plane. It does happen. Hey, we'll get some new keys to the plane and we'll start it up.
There's the tagline. Hey, shit happens. All right, so before I move on from Freo, though, last one. The biggest issue, and for the fans and for the players, is the internal expectations that have been broadcast. Now, you don't want the club to go into their shell, because I just want to know what clubs are doing. So I like that Freo have come out and said, we want to win a premiership. This group's the group to do it. We're going to play finals this year. I like all of that. But they're not living up to those expectations. So it just instantly creates a divide between expectations and reality. So if they had have come out and said, hey, we're going to probably finish somewhere between 8th and 13th, you kind of go, okay, well, they're kind of performing like that, aren't they? But because they're not performing how we expect them to perform, that's where the frustration comes in. But I don't think you can criticise them for coming out and saying it. So it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Skate, yeah. I'm going to keep moving. I don't know the response because you gotta go and MC something or do something. Richmond 81 defeat West Coast 79. I was at the pub watching this one, and there was people carrying on. Jack Della Maddalena had just been crowned world champion
in Montreal. Yeah,
right. Oui.
Well, yeah.
It's all right.
It's in Canada, so you're right. You're French Canadian. It's going to work well there.
So,
idiot.
Yeah. So I'll sort of watch that and then watch the back end of this one. 15 lead changes, and everyone's talking about the Tom Brown chase down tackle on Tommy Gross, I should say. How did you see this one?
Well, it was, look, let's be honest, it was two teams that are down the bottom of the table, but sometimes those matches end up being, it was entertaining. I've got to say, like, it wasn't high scoring, there was some skill errors along the way. Tom Lynch always loomed as a bit of a danger for Richmond with what he could produce, but I thought there was some really good sides. The tackling pressure of the Eagles was terrific. I think that they have improved in a lot of areas. In terms of what we know they got cleaned up by Melbourne in clearances last week, and that's an elite midfield with Maxi leading from the front, but they levelled that out. They had the inside 50s were 54 to 50 in Richmond's favour, but they had enough supplies. It was a pretty even game, to be totally honest with you. I liked the work of Liam Ryan in the middle. I thought he was good.
He was elite.
The work rate of Graham and Baker. I mean, they sort of shone the light. Some question marks on Tim Kelly about. He only didn't have a heap of the footy, and I know he's got a lot of criticism. I thought at times he was okay. I don't
want a different role.
I don't want to jump on his back because David Mundy was a really obviously good voice in this area. So, look, the numbers weren't great. I know he's not playing his best, but I don't think he's one that should be hung out to dry. He had an SMS saying he should be subbed out earlier in the game. That wasn't the case. But look, without Gov in the back line, it's always going to test them. Sandy Brock did some nice things. Their defence.
Harry Edwards was much improved.
Yeah.
I thought he played well.
I know they're playing Richmond, a side that's not that good, but I am seeing improvements in that side. And I suppose if you want to break it down, I think in the last 10 minutes they didn't show enough composure with ball in hand in defence particularly. A couple of dump kicks out of there. At times it felt like they were panicked, and maybe that can happen with a team that's doesn't have that experience.
I think I'm pretty fair with criticism, and I'm just gonna say, it bloody pains me to do this, to be honest. I think their senior players let the team down, West Coast. Jake Waterman missed 2 easy
early
goals.
Yeah.
Flynn missed crucial set shot. Kelly missed crucial set shot. Gettable, easy. Senior players. All those guys are senior players.
And to go back to Matt Owens in the first 30 seconds, I know it's a long time from that to the end of the game, but yeah, you're right. You take those chances.
Liam Duggan, who bloody partner here, he was the one that coughed him up in that 10 minutes.
He did.
And he was on his left foot and he just panicked. He then had another moment 5 minutes later where he should have grabbed it and taken possession, but he just smacked it over his hand. I guarantee you they are looking at those moments today, not Tom Gross. I guarantee no one's looking at Tom Gross. They shouldn't be anyway, and if they are, it's a joke. The senior players...
they'll have a look and just...
The senior players
I agree
down here, mate.
I agree.
And so... You can be positive, absolutely, Eagles fans, but you got to drive standards from you have to win that game.
Yeah, I totally agree. They have to win that game. Well, I know you're not saying don't look at it, but Tom Gross came on as sub.
Is it Gross or Gross?
Well,
okay,
we'll find that out in
TJ
at some stage. Maybe before Sunday might be handy when we're commentating it. Why don't you get you a sponsor? He got caught a couple of times, but he found the footy. So that balance, I think, which is there in that last passage of play, I'm calling with Adam Papalia, and he's surging forward. Now, I don't know whether he thought he could go all the way. I saw on the monitors we were looking at,
right.
I thought with 2 spares, or 2 free players inside 50. So it was just hoping he'd see that, kick to the target, kick to the option, whether it's Waterman. I'm not sure who the 2 were, to be totally honest with you, but it looked like there were a couple loose. So, they'll have a look at that and no more than just explain, because the reaction by Andrew McQualter I thought was just priceless.
Yeah. Well,
it summed up every West Coast Eagle fan.
You live and die by the sword in that situation. Like, if he goes and kicks that, it's the greatest moment he's ever had in his career, and he wins the game for the team. And he doesn't pass it off. He gets run down, and everyone says, "Oh, why is he bouncing it after 3 or 4 steps?" Well, that's what happens in the moment. And he's a young player, and you don't always get it right as a young player. Yeah, he did get run down a few times, but he was the sub. So that's why he hadn't adapted to the pace of the game, and because he'd been sitting on the bench. I couldn't really fault him. I think he should be playing a lot. I think he should be starting on. I think they should be playing him. I've seen enough from him.
He buzzes around. He's got energy, and that's what the Eagles have been lacking.
He clearly cares as well. And if I might just add Liam Ryan's leadership to pick him up off the ground immediately. People don't, for whatever reason, look at Liam Ryan as a senior leader at that footy club. Well, he is, and I can tell you he is. And I thought that was brilliant by him.
And to be fair, and I've said this, I'll probably stand by, I would have traded Liam Ryan 3 or 4 years ago myself, but he's had injuries. I'm going to put my hand up and say he's been
close to the best player this year.
He's been very good this year in a different role, and when he was in the midfield, he actually gave them something that was completely lacking at various stages this year.
Carlton defeat St Kilda 77-62 Friday night footy. Spuds game, brilliant game presented and led by Tom Boyd, who I thought spoke brilliantly before the game, Skeeter. Almost 66,000 people home and away crowd between Saints and Blue ever. Right,
that's how much? Is that a record?
66,000 between. Yeah, because they always play at Telstra Dome.
At Marvel,
They never at Marvel. Sorry, they don't do that. Mitch McGovern, chest injury, subbed off at quarter time, cleared of any structural damage. I don't think a report has been given there, which is an interesting one. Lockie Cowan's done his hamstring. Harry Mackay, though, probably the hero in this one, 3 goals, and slotted one late to absolutely seal it.
Yeah, saw that. And it was Blues just ground their way to victory. They're starting to find a bit of form, aren't they? And then when you break down the numbers, low inside 50 count, 46 apiece. So it was, again, a bit of a Ross Lyon style game. He just couldn't put the clamps on the players that he needed to. The most you mentioned, Mackay kicks 3 goals.
Their next 5, Skate, they play Sydney and GWS next 2, and then they've got Essendon, West Coast North.
This is Carlton?
Yes.
Well, you're thinking minimum 3 there, eh?
Yep, I think so.
Minimum 3. So, yeah, unfortunately, McGovern probably is a question mark moving forward. But I like what I saw from them. They were defensively pretty sound, keeping the Saints to 62. They're finding, to take out that Adelaide debacle, their last month of footy's been good.
Hawthorn defeated Melbourne 91-56 at the MCG Saturday Arvo. I heard at 3/4 time, apparently Sam Mitchell, and I've heard this as well, personally, as a coach. He came in and just called them boring. Said, "You guys are boring. I'm bored watching you. How about you flare it up a little bit?" And they did, and they came out and smacked him in the last quarter. But this one was pretty close all day. There was 1 point in it at 3/4 time. So, this is the blowout of the weekend, but ended up being a pretty good game. Clayton Oliver, a sort of storyline out of this, he tagged Jai Newcomb, which was nice of you, Clayton. I brought Jai into my fantasy team this week, so that was great to watch. I liked it. Saw a little bit of criticism the Sunday because he had not many touches. Just so we know, Clayton Oliver hasn't been setting the world alight as an attacking midfielder for a number of years now. He's had his troubles on and off the field, injury and off-field stuff. I like it. He's clearly very fit. I don't think he's the best kick in the world, Clayton Oliver. Put him on the best player, nullify them like he did, and then he can hurt him the other way. I like that by Simon Goodwin. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, well, you need to change. They've got to try and change up what he does in that team because clearly he's not the same player he was going back in time. Jack Gunston, though, had 7 shots at goal, kicked 3-4.
He's having a massive year. He's second in the Coleman or something.
Yeah, and look, Melbourne win the clearances as they do. Break this down. It's the last quarter. I watched parts of this game in the last quarter. The quality of Hawthorn came to the top, and I think that just sums up where Melbourne are at. They'll beat the sides sort of around where they are and below them, but I'm not sure they're good enough to go with the best teams. They hung in well, but just outclassed in the last term, and that result probably.
Hawthorn going to have a game where you think
it clicks.
Yeah, we go. Oh, geez, they're good. They're just sort of winning games at the moment. And
I think that's the upside for them. They're inside the top 4, I think, and they haven't really played. Do you reckon they've played to the same level as last year just yet?
No, but they haven't really played anyone good.
Well, guess what? Coming up in a couple of weeks on a Friday, they've got Collingwood.
Mate, the next 3 is Gold Coast, Brisbane,
up in Darwin.
Collingwood. Yeah. Gold Coast, Brisbane, Collingwood. They're probably the best 3 sides in it.
And also, but the Gold Coast up in Darwin.
Yes.
So that's another variable which they've got to take into account. And Sam Mitchell, I think they got thumped by the Gold Coast a couple of years ago up there.
We'll know all about Hawthorn after this 5-game stretch. Adelaide is involved in that 5-gamer as well. Essendon defeat Sydney 71-63 at Marvel Saturday Arvo. That's a weird time slot and operation there. Essendon.
What, 2:15?
I don't know, under the lid and Sydney in I don't know. That's just weird. I don't know why it's weird, Skate. Don't look at me like that. It's just
a Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah, I think it's just under the lid with Sydney there. Usually it's like, St Kilda, North Melbourne, or, it's a couple of...
It's Essendon, though. They dominated for 3 quarters.
30 points up at 3/4 time.
Didn't score a goal.
Points up at half time.
Didn't score a goal in the final quarter. So it was a weird game to watch. I watched the last part of that, and they were just hanging on for dear life, weren't they?
This is why the game last week, Sydney beating GWS, who have had a ripping win this week, it was why it's such a big game, because if they'd have lost that, Sydney are 14th, but they would have just been an absolute hole if they're not already. Sydney were nothing in this game. They scored 63 points against Essendon.
That's I think where we're at with Sydney this year. I don't see them playing finals. I see them being in that sort of 9th, 10th, 11th spot. Nick Martin, 38 touches, outstanding. Now, Zach Reid.
100% game time for Nick Martin. He never came off.
Zach Reid is starting to emerge as a quality defender, 27 touches. But
brother of
Archer. And what he's doing is well, again, I refer to walking past him in the Essendon rooms when they were here a couple of weeks ago. He's a giant and athletic and everything you're hoping he would be as a player. He's starting to emerge, and this is in your corner to talk about. But he that gives Brad Scott something almost like a pillar to work with once Ridley comes back in. That there's this Essendon side, they're winning in narrow margins, aren't they? But they're getting results. I think 5 of their past 6.
Yes.
And so when you think of that Zach Merritt year he's having, it's all working for them.
Hayden, remember to clip this, not this from here, but remember to get it from out. We chatted to Nick Martin pre-season and asked him for one player to focus on for this upcoming year, and he said Zach Reid. I said, who's going to be the guy that jumps off the page? He's like, Zach, I can't wait to see what Zach Reid does with a full pre-season and uninjured, and he was absolutely dead right because he's gone better and better. Yeah, good win for Essendon. And
you mentioned players pre-season. I do remember I was just guessing really, but I said, look, Nate Caddy, I think has got a fair bit of upside. I did. I'm not sure who I said it. I can't remember who I said it, but I said Nate. I've seen him a couple of times. I thought, geez, this guy can move. He kicked 3, so he's thankfully. I'm not sure if this is a one-off for him, but he's. They've got some players there that, if they can click, they've got some size about them as well.
So what are you saying? In the pre-season, you had a conversation with someone you don't know, and you just guessed,
might have been on
and
here.
You had no idea. But make sure
it was on here, I think. I think you said breakout player. I can't remember where it was. You can't remember last week. I can't remember 3 months ago. But I actually did say, I thought, Nate Caddy's a player's got a fair bit of upside.
Make sure you are absolutely paying attention to what you say about your side here on the Shelter FootyCast. Gold Coast 106. Defeat Western Bulldogs by 96. We both picked Gold Coast. Skeeter, they were underdogs.
Speaking of tipping, how'd you go?
I'm just looking it up. I knew that was coming. I got 6 this week.
That's good. Do you get 1 for the draw?
That's a good question, Skeeter. Question without notice. Let's have a look.
So 6 puts you, at least you're not probably coughing up more money.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to find that. Yes, I do get a tick for the draw.
Okay, so that's not great.
So I spoke to someone at GWS on the morning of the game. Yes. I wanted to pick GWS, right? And they said, boys, not unsure. And
I
picked along because of it.
And let me, we're going to go through the match anyway, but...
So we're going to talk about Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And let me just put my hand in the air because I didn't see either of the Saturday night games. You know why?
Why?
I'm calling Subiaco and Swans in the waffle. It was a 75-point mauling.
Was it?
Yeah, so I'm sitting there and, it wasn't exactly the ideal Saturday night calling footy.
I didn't see the Gold Coast Western Bulldogs one, but I just think that they are... That's as good as a home game for them.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, I watched the minis and really good. And high-scoring affair. Bulldogs, don't dismiss the Bulldogs just on this performance. They are playing really good footy.
I am coming 220th at the moment, Skeeter, so $2,200 in the hole at the moment.
I don't care about that. I want to know if Alex knows what your...
I actually think she's in the competition, and I believe she is beating me.
So you're going to give her money as well?
She's a good tipster, right? I don't know what's going on there, but she is a good tipster, so well done to Alex. I'll pull that round 3 winner up. Anyway, that was the game. We didn't see it, so I don't know. Gold Coast, Suns won inside 50s by 13. Ben King kicked 3 goals to extend his Coleman lead.
They're good up there.
Tom Liberatore is good. Adelaide, let's move on. You got to go soon. Adelaide 89 defeated Port Adelaide 84. Great showdown.
Well, they're saying it's one for the ages. What I will say is, and I know this, I'm not going to get into the debates on free-to-air and pay TV, etc. At some stage, forget what network it's on, don't they deserve like a Friday night standalone?
You said this before.
Or Thursday. Why are we so averse to having this? This is the best rivalry, or close to. This is the best rivalry in footy at the moment.
What's wrong with Saturday night?
Well, it's up against. I'm saying a standalone Thursday or Friday. That's all I'm saying. I think the showdown, because it's in Adelaide, it gets a bit of that.
They know they're going to get a crowd there. They know they're going to get people watching, so they don't really.
But why would you get a national audience? I'm just saying, if you want to get the biggest audience possible TV wise, and that's where we're talking here. Whether it's Fox or 7, I don't know why you wouldn't. The showdowns, there's always something edgy about it. Anyway, it was a great game.
It's probably the most the Sydney, the Battle of the Bridge is a bit spiteful at the moment.
Yeah, but not. This is got some continuity.
It's always sort of been there too.
Yeah, but we've completely lost that here. in my opinion.
How do we get that back here?
Well, two competitive teams, two good teams would be helpful.
Yeah, but Port Adelaide got done by 100 points last week, and they fight back and give something in the showdown. We don't get that over here.
No, I agree.
Peter R. has won the tipping, by the way, Skeet. 8 tips for him. There was 7 of you that got 8. Peter is the only one that missed the margin by 2. So Peter R., carton of shelters coming your way, mate. Well done. Showdown. Connor Rosé won the medal. 32 disposals.
Got booed.
Did he?
Apparently got booed. Adelaide win. It's the old story.
Isaac ranking 2 goals in a minute in the last quarter. Tried to get his side over the line. Couldn't do it. Kane Corns, by the way, I know people can be critical of him, has suggested the medal should be named after Phil Walsh, which I absolutely agree on. He's a big Port man, coached at Adelaide. I think that would be very well done. I was coached by him at West Coast, who sadly lost his life while he was coach of the Adelaide Crows.
Only seeing the numbers here, and again, just watching some of the highlights. Riley Thilthorpe, 3 goals. He's just he's a mammoth unit, isn't he?
5 contested marks, 5 inside 50 marks. Absolutely unit. The trouble with these big guys, so like I probably liken him to Tom Hawkins, and so I used to play on Hawk a bit. It's like one of those guys. You just know that if he's taking 5 contested marks as a backman, you're sort of like, well, I know this is going to happen. There's not a lot. I'm hoping my midfield can put pressure enough that it's a crappy kick, and I'm hoping I've got Dove or TB or someone dropping in the hole.
And maybe he takes a mark near the boundary or somewhere where he's not going to hurt you on the scoreboard. 62 to 41 inside 50s in favour of Port. So that's a bit similar to what we saw with the Fremantle Collingwood game. So they had their entries, but not their efficiency. 41 inside 50s for 13 goals for Adelaide. Yeah, really good game. They're saying it's one of the best of the season as well.
Well, the best game of the season was right after a GWS 105 defeated Geelong by 4 points, 101. Mark Blitzarves hit the post in the last minute to put Geelong in front. Couldn't do it. It was 40 out. It was just an interesting one, Skeeter. So
I saw it.
Yeah, so Blitzarves and Danger. It was Blitzarves marks the whole way. He had it most of the way. Danger was in front. They lay on the ground. Blitzarves looked at Danger, goes, better kick than me, and ran off. He ran off in the other direction. And the umpire, we can be very critical, especially me, brilliant umpiring. He said, that's your kick, buddy. Come back and get it. So I reckon he almost missed it before he kicked it.
He didn't want the moment, did he? And look, let me give full credit to the Giants. I know you're a big fan of theirs. It was a massive win. We touched on Jesse Hogan. Just thought Tom Green was a beast. He just did what he did.
37 this morning.
Oh, he's a gunner. Their midfield looked really, really good. And I thought they probably had the better of the game. The last 10 minutes, though, Stingle misses a set shot. Dangerfield with his spot-up kick just doesn't hit his target inside 50. He could have gone for home himself. And then so they probably... By the letter of what I saw, I thought Geelong probably slightly butchered it. But
it's one of those.
In the last 10 minutes,
I think it was that sort of game. You could look at the same way. If GWS had have lost, you probably could have said the same.
Exactly, but the chances late, I thought, were not taken by Geelong and the Giants. I don't know what the secret is there. They've won their past 5 in Geelong.
Yes.
They do it well there. Maybe the ground dimension, not sure.
Saw Jimmy Bartell talk about that. So Jimmy Bartell, in brief, who I believe still is a director at GWS, he at least was, and champion Geelong player, said everyone gets carried away with the width of the ground, the lack of width. They've got deep pockets and it's like a skinny ground, and everyone gets... He thinks everyone who travels there carries on about that. But he said how Geelong get you is the length of the ground. It's a really long ground, and that's what sides should focus on, and that's what GWS focus on. And GWS have won 5 in a row now, and Jimmy's definitely been over there for a number of those years. I guarantee you. He's
been saying, boys, this is how you play the ground.
Yeah, and they play it well. They go straight down the middle. They don't spend too much on the wings. I loved it from GWS. Thought they played brilliantly. Jesse Hogan best on with 7 goals and just was clinical. He's got the JK run up happening at the moment as well. He's got the little piano feet. See that? He's got the piano feet.
It's a great story for him, and he's got away from WA, and Dockers supporters will be saying, how come we didn't see this? But at the end of the day, he looks like he's loving his footy, and Adam Kingsley's found the recipe to get him playing good footy. And if they're going to win the flag, he's going to have a major say in that.
Chris Scott has coached against 48 coaches. Adam Kingsley is the only coach to have never lost. He's 3-0.
Wow.
Kingers has got a little bit of leverage over Scotty. Bailey Smith, recruit of the year. He's incredible. Skeet, Got you for another minute or two.
No, that's okay. You're right. I'll just go by your sort of...
North Melbourne 71 drew to Brisbane 71 at Ninja Stadium, the worst named stadium in the competition. It sounds like they're playing at the local kids' ballpark. I saw the last quarter and a half.
I saw the last 5 or 10 minutes, just only because I thought, well, this is getting close. The only reason you looked at it is because you thought...
Yeah, I was lying on the couch. I was cooked from just slaving away, making the great Mother's Day of all time, and I just sort of give myself a bit of a break and watch the footy. First draw of the season, this one, Skeet. It is the first time, I believe, it's not in here, first time I believe first and second last have ever drawn.
Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Clearly, I'm not very clear on the stats, but it's something like that.
Pretty rare.
Whatever happens, never happened before.
Wow, the draw. And you know what? I think, having watched the last few minutes in this, Eric Hipwood misses a late chance to give, essentially, you think, the Lions the victory.
North should have won this.
North, in the last 2 minutes, butchered the chance to get a score on the board, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but they did other things before that. They just didn't quite.
They don't know how to win.
Right. No, they don't. They don't, Skate. And Brisbane do and couldn't do it. So it was a bizarre game.
I think Brisbane will take the 2 points because it does give them that buffer. But yeah, they were below their best by some margin. And North Melbourne, we continuing to see this. They push Port over there. They push and draw with Brisbane. There's again sign of life from this team, but they just lack that. I don't know, just that leadership in those the way forward to take the next step to win those games. How many close games have they lost?
Yeah, a lot. And Clarko looks like he's.
Did you see him in the last minute or so when they had the ball? I think right half forward.
Yeah, they did cross across the ground. Charlie Comben was
outstanding,
amazing in the last quarter.
Yeah,
to pull the trigger across the ground.
They outpointed, I think, Charlie Cameron a couple of times.
Yeah, they were out, and then they tried to chisel one in, and Jack Payne, one of the great Dow defenders, who's right up there in the Jack Buckley medal, by the way, for BackChat.
What a spoil!
Spoiled it unbelievably, but they just need to go deep to the top of the square, rush it over.
Yeah, well, exactly. Just get. Apparently, there's another hand pass available to at least get the ball to the 50, and then any score will do. But
that's junior footy stuff. But the pressure comes on, you get that tight that you haven't won a game and you don't know what you're doing. Anyway, Tristan Cherry, for what it was worth, had 36 hit-outs, 12 clearances and 8 tackles, dominated that ruck battle. Ski, that's it for the weekend. I'll throw a couple of questions and comments at you and then you can get out the door. This is from Anon. I'm assuming anonymous?
Anonymous.
Can someone get this? Look how happy he is. You can't get a bar out of him. We're talking about controversial topics and he's backing off and then the emotions just stream out of you.
Either you with your tipping or you saying, good evening to you, Anon.
Coming back through the waffle. That got you one time.
Come back through the waffle. Come back.
I support a State of Origin round, but only if WA gets its own team and every State of Origin match is played in WA.
Oh, okay.
The Vics get the GF and South Australia has gather round. WA should be the home of State of Origin.
Not a bad
This also takes into consideration how much more we travel than any other state.
You know what? I reckon on that basis, I agree. It's good. Given gather round, Melbourne has everything that it can want when it comes to big matches. I don't mind that.
Danielle, who I believe is a big fan of yours.
Iconic.
Yep. Yes, thank you. If you've remembered, have you?
Just one thing I remember.
Have State of Origin and Optus, MCG Victoria, we get all the big games and less travel every year, so Danielle agrees. Hamish, I just think it's particularly vile given the opportunity the AFL has to stand up against violence of all kids. They did a minute of silence for violence against women earlier in the year, enabling meditated violent threats regardless of the recipient is just wrong. This is a major breach of conduct, particularly when it's outside the theatre of the game and needs to be punished. 7 weeks for homophobic slurs, but 0 weeks for this is insane. That is from Hamish.
So what was
Willie Rioli. I don't know.
Is that what you're talking about, Willie Rioli? Oh, yeah.
We didn't really speak about it at the top. He gave himself a week.
Yeah, well, the AFL gave him a week as well.
Hang on. I agree with Hamish. I think the on-field stuff, but the text message, I'll take your point of view, Skate, by the end of it, that, can't be texting blokes off. How has the AFL not jumped in before Willie Rioli suspended himself?
Oh, well, it happened the same day, didn't it? It just seems they've obviously chatted. Surely, yes. Port and the AFL. And again, I think it's Chris Davies has come out and detailed the ongoing and the level of abuse that Willie cops.
Yes.
Again, you and I aren't in that space, and so I think to try and have a balanced view on all this, Willie was in the wrong in that case. But yeah, there's probably bigger issues at play from his perspective.
That is it, Skeeter. Can't remember if you had anything else to ask me, but
no, it was huge. We've got Thursday night, Gold Coast, Hawthorn. It comes around pretty quickly, doesn't it? You've got your PSA team going well.
Yeah, we've got a big couple of weeks coming up, Skater.
Yeah, so you're in pretty good shape. Apart from your tipping.
No, tipping, no good. And just continue to watch the West Coast Eagles and the players.
Oh, no, before you go, I need opinion on a serious subject. You have been quoted and talking about Jeremy McGovern and his concussion issues. Now, I know it's an issue that is, it's a sensitive one.
Just ask me. Yeah.
So there was a suggestion that it might be a longer term issue than what is normally the case, being a 12-day or a week.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret that Gov's had a lot of concussions, or is that a secret? I don't know. No, he's missed a lot of footy, especially in the back half of his career through concussion. Now, whether he had weeks off or he's been concussed and then played outside of the protocols, I think it's getting to that point where the number is weighing up, and we've seen guys and how serious the AFL is taking this. Like that is what they're doing. So, I don't think it's any secret that internally, I think the West Coast are looking at it very seriously. Like, he's had enough of these concussions now to really have to consider how quickly are we rolling these guys out. Now, whether it's Jeremy McGovern or anyone else, once the number of concussions starts putting together, you can't just roll them back out there because they've had a week off. Like, the cumulative load of concussions is now what the research is saying around the damage is being done. And I think internally they're really looking at how quickly they're going to get Jeremy McGovern back into the side.
And do you think that he will?
I have no idea.
No idea?
Exactly what I just said is what I think. I think internally
there's some concerns.
They're looking at it more than just have your week off, Gov, and you're straight back out there. So take what you want out of that.
Yeah, that's not great news, and obviously for any player. But Gov's, I know he's a mate of yours and been a great servant. Let's hope that doesn't become a factor in, if not curtailing, certainly shortening what has been a remarkable career.
Thank you, Skater. Plenty of recovery from you from that ice chocolate, mate.